what I want to show you today is words. There are so many times you come to put a word on, and I'm telling you this because I've made this mistake on a couple of occasions. You put your parchment on, you do all your embossing, you do all your perforating, you take it off, and you realise you're back to front. You've got a mirror image. So let's turn the grid over. We'll start with the mirror image in the first place. Now again, low tack tape, turn it over, pop it on. A couple of places, we've only got a small area, so we don't need a lot of tape, but we just need to know that it's going to sit nicely and be held in place. Believe is back to front, mirror image. We're going to pop our piece of parchment on. Because I'm only doing a small area, I've only got a small piece of parchment. And I'm going to get my 1mm embossing tool. The 1mm embossing tool works lovely on these grids. As we've turned it over, you can see we've got a lot of black lines. That's the design cut into the grid, and it's those lines that we want to emboss. So we just pop the tool on those black lines and gently work the parchment. So you stroke the parchment round. I'm not going to do the whole of Believe, but we're going to do part of it. And remember, what we do need to do is allow the parchment to rest. So you do all of your embossing, all of the lines, starting at one side and working our way around to the other. Whether it's a little design like this or one of the larger fairies, it's all the same. Work at one side, work your way around to the other, and then come back again. Really does make a difference, rather than pressing heavy in the first place, and that will make your parchment buckle. So if you are trying parchment and it is looking very buckled, very puckered, just try to give the parchment a rest in between and be a little bit lighter as you're embossing. I find that the weight of embossing you want to use is really the way you would write. So if you're heavy-handed, maybe you need to just pull back a little bit with the weight and see how that goes. It's all trial and error. It's all practice. Right, let me turn this over. We should be able to see now that we've got a white design coming through for B. It should be just starting to show through nice and white. And here on the rest of Believe is grey. So we'll just try one more time. So we've done the whole lot. And we start again. In the grids, you'll find there's little metal shoulders. Now, if we didn't have those, I'm afraid everything would just drop out. So work up to the shoulders with your embossing, and then when you take it off the grid, just emboss where those shoulders are, so it makes the line flowing instead of having little breaks in it. So we turn that over. Now this way I use my 1 needle perforating tool. I find it easier just to pop through with your 1. Now because we're going through the grid, we can go all the way down. We've already done the embossing apart from where those little shoulders are, and so long as you're careful on doing those, you'll be fine. The reason we normally do perforating first embossing first, perforating second is when you perforate, you're making holes in your parchment, and that's obviously going to become weaker. So if you did heavy embossing on the weakened parchment, you would tear it. So it's a good thing to do embossing first, perforating second. Now here, because I've only got the bee, we've got nothing in between, so I'll show you in a few minutes how we're going to put our perforations in between just for the bee. When you think you've gone all the way around, but not sure, turn everything over and you should be able to see if you've missed any holes. The only place I've missed, we don't have holes, we're going to do them in a second, is just there. I'm not worried about the inside bit, we're just concentrating on the outside. But you could perforate all the way around and perforate every one of those out and then cut them. But I'm just concentrating on that bee. So let's pop the top back on there. Very useful to put your tops straight away back on your perforating tools because it's so easy to stab yourself. And I know, I've done it. Right, so we've got our little bit there. Remember what we said about the 2 needle? In your last hole, so into the last hole, and this is going to make the same distance between the holes that we've already got. There we go. Now we can cut the bee completely out. So we go back to our little snips or parchment scissors. It's a good idea always to have your mat underneath because you will just cut into your skin otherwise. So into the holes with the blade, lower, twist and snip. Lower, twist and snip. And remember, when we're snipping, when we're closing the blades together, you're pulling the blade back. When you're using scissors, you would normally push the blades along, wouldn't you? But with this, if you did that, I'm afraid you would end up with holes in your parchment, and what we want is a little V, a picot edge, and the easiest way to do that is to pull back. There we go. I'm not going to completely finish the whole of this, and that was the one I got caught on there, look. So let's go back. Rather than tearing, always go back and snip. Let's snip this away so you can see. So we just take that to where I've started and finished the perforations. There, that makes it easier, doesn't it? So we can see where we're going. You could use this just as a bee on a baby card. Right, so we've used our grid. We now know how to do it to get the words the right way round and not in reverse. We've used our 1 and our 2 needle tool and our little parchment snips. These have very, very fine points to them, which is what you need when you're going into very, very small little holes.